Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. If you don't know, I'm Chelsea. I studied for 3 years at the University of York doing a law degree, and I'm now a graduate. So I thought I would answer the question of should you do law and sort of explain why I did law, some of the skills and things that you need to be a lawyer, and hopefully it will enable you to decide whether you should do law, whether you are thinking that you want to do law at university but not quite sure, or whether you're deciding about university course options and law might be one of them. Hopefully this video will help you decide whether you want to dedicate 3 years of your life to studying for a law degree. So firstly, why I studied law. So I went into my law degree thinking I wanted to be a corporate barrister, that I was going to make loads of money, I was going to work in London, and I was going to have this flash Swiss job, have the prestige, and that's something at 17, 18 that I really wanted. And I thought, okay, this is going to give me a complete change of lifestyle and I'm never going to have to, struggle for money ever again. And in reality, that's so not what a barrister really is. And it's not the right reasons to go into law. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the qualities of a law degree and the things that we would study and how intellectually challenging it is and how intellectually challenging a job would be. Those are things I really liked. And also the mix of working in a team and also on your own, having the opportunity to be, self-employed if you wanted to be. Those are also things that attracted me. But fundamentally, I just wanted a really good job and to be comfortable and financially stable. And I thought that, law is something that can give me that, and that's why I went into law, which probably isn't the best reasons. And it probably explains why after about 6 months of studying for my law degree, I did a bit of work experience in the law and in the areas of law that I thought I wanted to go into, and realised actually it's really boring and it's just not something that I wanted to do personally. It just wasn't my thing. And I have a whole other video on why I chose not to be a lawyer, and I'll link that down below. But basically, I like the study of law, I just didn't like the practice of law. So, those are two different distinctions that you need to consider, whether you're doing a law degree because you want to study law or whether you're doing a law degree because you want to practice law. Because if you want to practice law, you might hate certain elements of studying, but at the end of the day, it's 3 years of your life and practice is very different to studying it, or vice versa. If you just want to study it, then you might absolutely love studying it, but then end up with a degree and think, what am I going to do with it if you hate practice? So ideally, you want to like both, but that's not always the case, and that's also okay. And law is a brilliant foundational degree for life. It's transferable to so many sectors. A lot of employers kind of see it as a respectable and prestigious degree. And also 50% of law graduates don't go into law, so you wouldn't be alone if you did a law degree and then decided you didn't want to go into it. There are so many other career options for, law students and law graduates. So you need to bear that in mind as well if you do want to just study law for the sake of studying law rather than to be a lawyer. But as I said, study and practice are very different. The study of law really involves reading a big breadth of, legal cases and books and things like that, but also being able to pull out the minute details and go deep in depth and come up with theories and really critically evaluate and analyze what you're reading and come up with opinions for both sides and argue on something that's so abstract or nuanced within, the legal world or within a certain area of law. And really the study involves a lot of reading, independent research, and just sort of going over a lot of different legal topics. And you do get to do a bit of advocacy and things like that when you study law, but realistically not as much as you would do in practice. Whereas in practice, depending obviously on what type of job you do, it would be more client facing, you'd be doing a lot more practical things, a lot more hands on, a lot more, walking between courts if you're a barrister, or going around the building as a solicitor. And your tasks would vary all throughout the day. So if you're a trainee solicitor or an associate, you could do things from like proofreading to meeting with a client to jumping on phone calls to doing some research. Like, it varies quite a lot throughout the day. Same with the barrister, you could be meeting with your defendant, you could be advising on the phone, you could be then drafting legal documents, you could also be prepping to go to court, actually giving advocacy in court. The job roles are quite, fluid, and there's a lot of things you can do in them, whereas the study is very focused on like just the reading and the analysing of the law. So also on that note, it's just important to know what the job roles entail. I've also made a video on the difference between solicitor and barrister and what those jobs entail, and it also included a lot of places to go to look and research for each job role. And it's important that you know that before you do a law degree, to know whether you're going into a law degree because you want to study law or go into a law degree because you want to be a lawyer, because they are two different things, and you'll get two different experiences out of a law degree depending on which one you actually want to do. And yeah, it's like you don't want to end up how I was going into law thinking I really want to be a barrister or I really want to be a lawyer, and then within 3 months being like, I couldn't think of anything worse. And then you're kind of like just doing a law degree, like, what am I doing? And then luckily for me, I enjoyed studying law and I enjoy academic study generally, so I didn't dislike my degree. But you know, you could be in a situation where that might be the case. And now I guess I want to outline some of the skills that you need to have, or you need to be willing to develop and need to want to study for 3 years and, you know, practice for 3 years, because these are the skills that a law degree really polishes. So things that you really need to want to be comfortable doing. So you need to cope with an intense workload and also intense people. Law students and lawyers generally are very intense people. They're very stressed most of the time. They have a lot of things to do and not enough hours in the day. So, you know, that stress level does sort of go through offices and go through law schools, especially towards, you know, exam periods or times when cases might be reaching, like, you know, a pinnacle point. So it is important to be able to handle stress quite well, as well as workloads more generally. There's a lot of work that you do have to do, as I said, especially in exam time to be a law student. So you have to be able to cope with stress and also accept that during those times you might have to just give up, you know, your hobbies or seeing your friends and things like that to be able to study. Or if you don't want to give those up, accept that you probably will get quite a lower grade. Secondly, you need to be able to read a lot. I mean, we do read a lot as a law student. Typically, you get set quite a few hundred pages a week of reading. You don't necessarily read it all, you skim it and you learn to skim and pick out the bits and learn how to find sources when you're researching very quickly doing a law degree. So we don't read as much as people probably think we do, but at the same time, there is a lot of reading in comparison to sort of like other subjects. And also you need to be able to be competitive. So if you really, really want to be a lawyer, you have to be that person that's willing to like fight for it and really want it. And when you're in those interviews, those things will then come through, and that's what employers want to see. The employers want to see that you genuinely want the job role. Whereas if you're like half-assed and not bothered about being a lawyer and you're like, well, if I do work experience, I do it, I don't, you're not really likely to get on in the law world. You have to really show that you want it. So you have to be willing to be competitive with your peers as well. Going off that, you need to be confident. You know, confidence, whether it's real or fake, is important within law. You know, whether you're going up against a classmate in a moot, or whether you're going for a job interview, or whether you're about to tackle a really long essay and there's not enough hours in the day to do it. You need confidence within yourself to know that you can back yourself and that you are capable of doing that and have some element of strength, because otherwise you're in a highly competitive, highly intense, stressful environment and cracks start to appear. And unless you're really confident and back yourself and really think like, I know I can do this, it will be quite difficult. So also you need to have good communication skills. Typically on a law degree, you'll need to talk with your other students and your lecturers pretty frequently. You'll have to do advocacy and mooting, you know, and actually advocate for a client, whether real or fake. So you need to be able to speak to lots of different people in lots of different settings, whether small groups of people, one-on-one, you know, big sort of public speaking events, or in a professional manner and also in an informal manner to explain the law. And an element of that is also being able to explain complex law to somebody very easily and simplistically. And those kind of skills are really important when you're being a law student and eventually a lawyer. You also need to problem solve. So this is something that does get drilled in at university, but you need to be able to look at a legal problem and think about, how can I find the answer to this? It's not necessarily about knowing the answer, it's just about knowing how I can go through a series of steps to then find that answer. Where do I go for research? What do I need to look at in order to know how to solve that problem? You need to be able to work in a group and independently. So obviously your seminars at law school will involve other people and group work and even mooting and stuff like that. At law school, normally you get put in a team to do it. So you need to be able to be a team player. But equally, you also need to be able to work independently and to put your own shift in and do a lot of research on your own and then meet back with your team and share it with them. So you do need both sides to the coin there of working with people and also by yourself. You need to be able to read breadth but also depth. So you need to have the skill of reading a lot of information but also knowing which bits are important. And that's not necessarily something that you need to already be able to have mastered before law school. It's just something that you definitely will master at law school, and it is a good skill to have, you know, to skim read and things like that. But if you're the type of person who gets set 100 pages of reading and wants to sit there and read 100 pages of reading, if you become a law student, you will basically have no social life and all you'll do is ever read, and it'll be really intense for you. You need to be the type of person that is willing to accept that you need to just skim read most of the stuff, otherwise you're gonna have like no life. So yeah, you need to kind of be okay with like picking stuff out and not really completing the reading and just picking out the most important bits. And finally, this is sort of in two parts. It's you need to be able to self-motivate, and you also need to be able to accept that you will have to sacrifice personal things at times. So you need to self-motivate because there's so much that you need to do. A lot of it's independent study. You're also going against all of your peers all of the time, and it is quite a lot, and you need to be able to sit there on your own and push yourself through it. And if you don't, it's very easy to get behind. And also, going off that, you need to be able to sacrifice your personal life. There are times when you're just like, do you know what, I'm not going to be going out, I'm not going to be working out, I'm going to be eating like awfully for the next 2 weeks because I just physically can't eat healthily right now, like it's just too much effort. There are times when you just degrade your standards because you have too much work on, and you kind of just need to like be okay to accept that and expect that when you go to law school, because unless you're like the most organized, efficient person ever, and chances are even if you are, at some point within those 3 years of law, that's going to slip, that you need to be able to prioritize and be organized still, because as I said, otherwise it's so easy to slip behind in work, and then that's a place where you really don't want to be. So hopefully that answered your question of should I do law? In summary, you need to be going into it for the right reasons. You need to know what the job roles consist of. You need to know whether you're going into it for the study of law or the practice of law, and you need to know what the skills involve. Also, I have a lot of vlogs on my channel which show like a typical week at university and what it's like being a law student. So check those out if you want to see like, typical week, typical day, the workload we get set, to get more of an idea that way. And I'll also be putting out a video soon that's like what to expect at law school, the type of workloads we have, how many contact hours we have, what students and career opportunities are like typically at law school. So hopefully that also should give you a better idea. But hopefully this video has answered your question of should you be a lawyer, and if you need any more sort of guidance or you want to comment on anything that I've mentioned in this video, then feel free to comment them down below. I'll be happy to answer. But that's it for this video. I will see you next week. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.